What's up, everybody? It's time for another Dreadful Talk, episode 51 this week. We'll be going solo today. Man, I'm excited. I'm legitimately happy to be doing this. I'm legitimately happy to be doing another episode of Dreadful Talk. You know, just excited to be living my life the way I want to be living it. And, that's kind of the theme of today's episode in a way. It's just back to normal. Question mark. Things seem to be going back to normal for a lot of people, for those choosing to, try to live their life in a way that it was, before the pandemic. There's a lot of debate. You talk to some people and they're like, oh man, remember the pandemic back in 2020? And then you talk to some people who are like, we're still in the pandemic. The Delta variant's gonna kill all the gerbils, So there's obviously two camps, like everything in America nowadays, and like most things, I tend to find myself somewhere in the middle. But yeah, back to normal on multiple fronts. Got out of California, which everybody knows is the lands of freaks and weirdos, and that's one of the things that makes it cool and makes it fun. But it is, I'm in Nevada now, and I gotta say, shit is much more normal in Nevada. And, some people are, but what does normal even mean? What is normal even? What is normal? What is even normal? Normal doesn't exist. It's always a fucking weirdo saying some shit like that. You know what I mean? We all know what normal means. And that doesn't mean that everybody has to be normal, or that everybody has to like normal, or, that this world would be a boring place if everything was normal and there wasn't no weirdos out there. Now, I can be pretty weird myself sometimes, but let's not try to act like we don't know what normal means. And back to normal this week. It sure feels that way in my life. I hope it feels that way in yours. Or if not, I imagine you're pretty happy as well, because it seems like the people that aren't getting back to normal are the people that really don't want to. And I guess that's okay too, this episode's going to be about living your life the way you want to live it. And that may seem like kind of two conflicting ideologies. Liking normal, but also living your life the way you want to live it. Usually when you hear people talk about live your life the way you want to live it, it's about, embracing that other side of you, or, it's usually, those two ideas don't usually go hand in hand, but there are a lot of folks out there who do miss normal, who want to live their life normal, or what they deem normal, and then nobody else gets to tell you what's normal. But I do think that there's kind of a general consensus, and that's kind of what I'm talking about today. Also, this shit is some magic potion. I don't even know how they do this shit. Those little off-brand Walmart sparkling waters, they say there's no sugar in that shit. This is the sweetest thing I've ever drinking. This is clear Dr. Pepper. They say there's no sugar in it. I don't know if I'm buying it. Delicious though. I'll keep lying to myself, but yeah, so Wednesday. Feels good to be back on schedule. I know the uploading schedule has been a little wonky. I've been in the middle of a big move, new job, major life changes. But yeah, it feels good to be back on schedule and just getting back to normal, as the title would indicate. And so yeah, I'm in Nevada now, and I went back to work, and yes, I do work. No, I haven't made it yet. The worst advice is also the most commonly given advice. Fake it till you make it. Such garbage advice. Keep it a buck with yourself and with others, and run your own marathon. Go at your own pace, as long as you're getting closer to your goals and still fighting for what you want and living the life that you want to live. Don't be on anybody else's timeline. Don't be on social media's timeline. Don't fake the funk. So, and I'm saying all that because like a lot of podcasters, YouTubers, whatever, people, musicians, people trying to make it, they'll be embarrassed of their day job or try to act like they don't have one, or, and hey, if that works for you, and if you're, as a consumer, as a viewer, are turned off by the fact that I have a day job, then that's probably a reflection of how you feel about yourself and your own day job more than it says anything about me. So yeah, I'm back to work. I went 16 months without working, and as a grown man, that's really, it was really bizarre. I mean, hopefully a once in a lifetime opportunity, and I say opportunity because I definitely made the best of it. I'm also glad that it's over. Both can also be true. It's almost like some people that didn't stop working through the pandemic, hey, round of applause, you're essential AF, bro. But I'm just saying that wasn't the reality for all of us, and some of us made the decision we thought we all just try to make the decision that we think is best, so that's a very personal decision. But it's almost like some people that didn't stop working almost wanted, like if you took a single unemployment check or cashed your stimulus, and you're supposed to, hang your head in shame and feel bad about yourself. Like, fuck that. If you didn't know, unemployment comes from your taxes, which you've been paying into this whole other time before the pandemic anyway. So trust me, Uncle Sam's still coming out in the green. You've still given them more than they've given you, unless you're like 18 and just started working. But even then, it'll come back. You'll get even. Uncle Sam will get even with you. Don't be feeling too bad about that unemployment. And for those folks that are on their high horse about, I didn't get a single unemployment check, like, you may, look back on that, in a couple of years and wonder if that was the right move, I mean, if you're owning your own business and you're furthering your own cause, probably not. But if you're just punching a clock, making somebody else rich, like, I mean, I don't really understand the point of puffing your chest out about that. Like, like I said, I did enjoy my 16 months off. And I gotta say, going back to work is also cool. It doesn't suck, yeah, and I think that just goes to show, like, this is kind of another cliche, but life is what you make it, you know what I mean? If you want to find something to be down about, it's real easy. Probably the easiest thing you'll do all day. But you gotta find the, them little things, that you enjoy, and just make the best out of the situation. And I definitely did that, and I'm still doing this. I'm still making the best out of the situation. Some people would be super bummed about going back to work. I'm not. Like I said, I'm pretty stoked. I'm excited. It's something different. But yeah, 16 months no work, pretty much like a big summer vacation, except for a good chunk of it we couldn't do shit. But let's be real. Think back to when you were summer vacation as a kid. Like, probably the big Six Flags memories stand out, or whatever. Maybe some 4th of July memories, but the most of them days was spent at the house, probably playing some video games and eating some snacks. And my pandemic wasn't spent too much differently, you know what I mean? But yeah, no, it was fun. I gotta say, I'm refreshed though. Everybody can get worn down from just the day-to-day grind, and I'm sure at some point, probably in the not too near future, I'll be feeling that same way again. But yeah, as far as like taking some time off, I really felt did me good, did my mind good, did my body good. And I learned some dope habits that I can like take with me as we transition back to normal. And also, like, this is one of those moments in time where like we're all going through it together. Like, and a lot of us never take the time to zoom that lens out of our own life and we can't see the forest through the trees, but like there are certain moments where like we all experience them together, and unfortunately they're almost always really bad things. Like every generation has theirs. There was the Vietnam War, You know, there was the civil unrest and the drug epidemic in the 80s and the early 90s. Then we got to 9/11, and then, you know, but this, almost everything, obviously not the wars, but like the 9/11 and like certain tragedies that kind of all unite us, they're all like a moment, it's over with, and then like we experience it, we mourn it, we remember it, but it's a very brief, like, I'm trying to think of something in my lifetime, born in 94 here, that we all endured together for that period of time, and I can't think of one. I mean, obviously, you know, the wars in the Middle East and all that, but that's gone on so long. I mean, if you're in the Army, you're doing, you know, 3-4 years and getting out. I mean, most people, so it's like, it's multiple generations experience, and I don't think that's a good apples to apples comparison, but like, yeah, so like we all experience something together. I think, like, and I keep pointing out, I said at the moment that it happened, and I still feel this way, and then we'll see how it feels moving forward out of this, but almost like how, like, I think most of my generation would be like our great-grandparents went through the Great Depression, and they all experienced it together, like a shared communal hard time that endured. And then also, slightly less talked about, but really kind of talked about a lot, but in a different context, is how we came out of that as a nation, and we transitioned out of it, or they transitioned out of it kind of all together. And I think that's what's different now with this, is I think we got, like, you know, about half the people trying to move forward and upward and onward, and then we got about half the people, you know, still wanting to go back to lockdown and wear masks forever and that type of thing. And it's always hard when everybody's not pulling on the same rope. You know, it's hard to get anything done. But yeah, some of the comment section said swine flu. Swine flu to me was all like hype, like it was like news articles and stuff, but nothing really changed our day-to-day lives. Like, I remember swine flu, nobody was wearing masks, there wasn't no lockdowns, there wasn't no mass layoffs or anything like that. So I don't know if that's necessarily the comparison I'd go with, but I do appreciate you tuning in, appreciate you commenting always, you know, good looking out. And yeah, so it's just like, I've always been real big on like society. Like in school, I always loved sociology. Like I like anthropology, like looking at like societies as a whole. Because, you know, every individual, there's no patterns, right? We're all anomalies. So it's really hard to see patterns and even see truth when looking at an individual person, and that goes for myself too. But when you zoom that microscope out and you zoom that lens out and you look at society on a whole, you can see trends and patterns, and it's more, you can't say it's an anomaly. And so that's always really interested to me, and like I feel like I'm very aware that there's like I'm one of millions that are going back to work right now. It feels very differently than in the past when I just got a new job. You know, like back before the pandemic, you get a new job, like that doesn't have anything to do with society. Like that's a very you thing. But like I really feel like there's part of this like back to work kind of movement. And I don't know, I guess it feels cool to be part of. It's not really a thing I like got to choose. It's just kind of the timing of it all, the situation we all find ourselves in. If somebody's out there is gonna find a way to pat themselves on the back for it, shine their own wheels for it, as Uncle Chill would say. But yeah, and you know, it just happens to be, it is what it is, as they say. But and yeah, you know, like I said, in California, land of the freaks and weirdos, and Nevada, much more normal of a place. And I guess if all you've experienced is California, then you may think that that's normal. We all have our own version of normal. I understand perception is reality, but I encourage you, if you've only lived in California, you know, there's 49 other states, and a lot of them don't have the problems and the things that Californians put up with seemingly voluntarily. and it feels good not to have all that, because I was starting to like confuse myself, because like, you know, you see a bunch of fucked up shit in Cali, and you start to convince yourself that that's normal, but you know, there's a lot of other places out there that don't consider that shit normal, and don't put up with it and tolerate it in the way that California does. And you know, some Californians almost seem to even endorse it. But yeah, man. Yeah, I appreciate that, man. Yeah, you know, it's like I said earlier. If you want to find something to be miserable about, it'll be the easiest thing you do all day. I promise you that. And it's just not the route to take. You know, you got to fight back against that. I really do believe that's what kind of separates the strong from the weak. You know, is just now you can't be like a dumbass, like ignorance is bliss, like just ignoring all the fucked up shit. But I think you can do both. I think you can be aware, but just not like, don't make the miserable shit your identity. Don't like wallow in it. You know, you can acknowledge it and be aware of it without just like going balls deep in the rabbit hole of negativity. You know, and I think a lot of people struggle with that balance, because a lot of people that are, you know, happy or you know, they seem to kind of do have that ignorance is bliss, or you know, or that just, or being overly selfish, where like, hell, my life's good, it doesn't really matter that those people are going through it. That's not the approach either, and that's not what I'm advocating for. I think there can be a healthy balance between, you know, acknowledging the bad, but you know, leaning in towards the good. You know, too many people nowadays leaning in towards the bad, and I had to. You know, it's easy to do. Once again, probably be the easiest thing you do all day is either, you know, get yourself into some trouble or find something negative to think about, to talk about, you know, to listen to. But yeah, you gotta lean into you know, what's good, you know. And I think we do have more control over that than a lot of people like to, you know, lead on. You know, a lot of people like to, you know, act like, oh, it's not my fault that I'm miserable, or it's not my fault that my life sucks. And man, I know there's some outliers out there and some extenuating circumstances, and certain people get dealt a shit ass life hand. Trust me, you ain't got to explain that to me. But I do think, you know, we do have a lot more influence over that in the long run. Now, that there could be like a small period of time where you feel sunken and lost and helpless, but if you're feeling that way over a sustained period of time, a meaningful period of time, then I do believe that there is some, you know, more effort that could be put into, you know, steering that car down a different road. But yeah, you know, and whatever, like I said, this is about me. It's about, I'm telling you about what I did, but in hopes that, you know, people, I want to see people out there, everybody, whether I know you or don't know you, like you, don't like you, I want to see more people like enacting their free will over their life. Like I see so many people, and I call them leaves in the wind, to where like their hands ain't on the steering wheel, like they're just going wherever life takes them, whatever, like a leaf in the wind. You don't got no steering, no, you can't control, just wherever the wind blows is where it goes. And I really want to see more people just like, you know, take that car where you want to take it, you know. If you don't like where you're at, move. And I gotta say, I've moved states twice. I moved from Oklahoma to California, now from California to Nevada, but I gotta say, if I can do it, anybody can do it. Like, I didn't have a single really advantage. Like, if anything, I had plenty of disadvantages, and I still made it happen. And, you know, there were some times where, you know, that safety net was worn thin and almost falling out from under me, but it didn't, and I'm all right, and I landed on my feet, and you can too. And that's not to say that like even moving states should be your goal, but what I'm saying is if there's something that you're not liking, you can change it. And for me, oftentimes in my life, that has been my location. And I do think location and where you're at and the environment you're in and the things and the energy you're surrounded by and the people you're surrounded by and the mentalities that you're surrounded by, man, I think that shit has a lot more sway over us than a lot of people either admit or realize or can even really be explained. I know I've experienced it. You know, that's been a powerful factor in my life, just the environment. And then the changing of that environment. And I swear it's almost like you don't even know yourself until you do change something up drastically, whether that be a location, whether that be a lifestyle change. Because, you know, so many people's, you know, your personality is really just your habits. Your personality is your friends. Your personality is your hobbies. Your personality is your neighborhood, you know. And you don't even really know what's in here yet. And there's a lot of ways to get to do that. Like, it doesn't have to be from movement or you know, different people find that in different ways, but I feel like a lot of people haven't even started looking for it, you know. But what's that, Holly? It's my little dog, y'all. But yeah, you know, we're going back to normal, and so, man, talking about normal, I don't know if it gets any more normal and blue collar than what I'm doing now. And I'm driving a forklift at a warehouse, and I've never done anything even close to this before. It's completely different than anything I've done in my whole job history, any damn thing. And that part of it's cool. I do kind of lean into like learning new things. So like the fact that it's not like everything's new, like even the most mundane thing, like I have to be like engaged with and locked in with. So like I kind of can't go through the motions. And that's another thing. Like, so, and I've had jobs like that. You go through the motions. You're just killing time, watching that clock tick by. And I gotta say, if you're feeling that way in your job, because and like most people, I was raised to think that, like, you know, office jobs or jobs where you wear a tie instead of boots, you know, that's what you should aspire to, and that's, you know, and then jobs like forklift and construction, you know, kind of frowned upon in our society, or you know, definitely not the coolest thing, or definitely not, you know, something a lot of people, you know, or maybe even too proud of. But I gotta say, man, it engages a different part of your brain. I said, I've had office jobs and jobs where I wear ties and talk on the phone and I'm on the computer, and like that's what we're taught is like good. People, I also gained like 30 pounds. People don't talk about like a sedentary lifestyle and how bad that is for you. I've had office jobs where literally every single new hire, they would get hired and then they would be all fit and young and healthy. And you know, after sitting on your ass for a year and a half, they all gained 30, 40 pounds, like all like clockwork. There's people that like I've worked with, it's like I met them when I got hired. I met a fat guy. Like, this is just a fat coworker of mine, and I come to find out when they got hired, they had abs. Real story, and that's something that doesn't get talked about. Is, you know, we're all teaching our kids, oh, you want an office job, you want to be a suit and tie guy. Like, all right, I'm not saying that you can't make a good living, and there's some opportunity there, and obviously it works for some people, but to act like that's like all anybody should aspire to, I think is super misleading, and I feel misled about that. You know, and people do it with the best of intentions, though. That's the thing. People think they're like saying, like, you know, setting their kid up for success, whenever in reality you're kind of pigeonholing them. Or what if they like doing stuff with your hands, and then you make them kind of feel ashamed of that, or like, damn, am I dumb because I don't enjoy, you know, sitting in a cubicle all day and I would rather be outside? Like, does that make somebody stupid or simple? Like, no, it doesn't. Like, those two things to me are equal. I hold those two things in equal regard. And Let's check this comment section real quick. What we got going on here? If you have a good mindset, you have a good life in a way. Yeah, no, that's pretty true. I'm not going to for office now. Yeah, man. I mean, like I said, I've experienced both, and I mean, is it cool, working in air conditioning and and sitting on your ass all day, or having a job you can wear sweatpants to, like, I'm not saying it's all bad, but like, all society tells us that it's all good and that there's no downsides, and I've seen those downsides firsthand, and how that affects, and obviously the body and mind are connected. Like right now, driving this forklift, like there's times where I'm fucking taking 1,200 pounds and taking it, high up in the air. I don't know exactly how high, but I mean multiple stories, three stories high, and there's real life consequences to that, and it keeps you engaged, and like you're really doing some shit, almost like you're playing a sport or in a fight or just something that you have to, like, or when I skateboard, like you have to be like locked in, like you have to, like, there's real consequences. Like anything you're doing that has real consequences, it engages a part of your brain where you're focused and you're like, I can't fuck this up. And it's just not the same if you're, in a cubicle wearing a suit and tie and you're trying to sell somebody something and they say no. It's like, okay, is that a real consequence? Like, I mean, I guess it is if you consistently don't hit your quota and you get fired, but no, it doesn't really matter. You're going to hang up and you're going to call the next person, or the next person's going to call you, or you're going to open up that next Excel spreadsheet, or whatever the case may be. I don't feel like there's real consequences, and that's good and bad, right? Because if you fuck up, you don't lose a toe or a finger, but it is mind numbing. You hear people describe these jobs as mind numbing, and I think that's where the numbing part comes in, is because you're not engaged. Like, you're not. Yeah, your body's there, but your mind's a million miles away. We've all had jobs like that, a retail job. You're waiting for a customer to come in, acting like you're fucking straightening shelves and just going through the motions. Like, and hey, if you're the type of person that's able to stay engaged in a job like that, good for you. But I just don't think that everybody should. That should be like kind of like the bar standard that everybody should, have to meet. And I also like this like stigma of like blue collar workers being like, too dumb for college or something along those lines, which people don't necessarily explicitly say, but they kind of inherently imply, just through rhetoric or just even that little thing of like, oh, you want to telling your 3-year-old kid that they don't want to work outside when they get older, or, get good grades, or you'll end up working construction, but they don't tell you that, like, you could get good grades, go to college, and then make less money than the construction worker and get fat from sitting inside all day and, not getting no sunlight, no fresh air. Like, that shit ain't good for you. So it's just false narratives, and like I said, I think we kind of look down on working class people, unjustly, unfairly, and like I said, so I think a lot of people don't even realize they're doing it. Like, oh, you tell your kid, you be a lawyer, a doctor. That's what parents wanted them to be, right? And then it sets this like weird bar where if we're not a lawyer, a doctor, or NFL player, or whatever the case may be, then we've somehow failed. But like, we didn't set those expectations for ourselves. That's like somebody that didn't even know us yet, because we weren't there to be known yet as a child. You're not a fully developed person, and, is arbitrarily picking something that most likely they don't even know what the job entails. Like, I know I grew up like that. I know a lot of people out there did too. Like, like, for example, I grew up, my dad was a truck driver. Nothing wrong with that. Made a good living. We're not on good terms right now, but that's besides the point. And he would always, and he was like, it was like this self-hatred. Like, that's what I'm saying. Even he would tell me, like, oh, you don't want to grow up to do what I do, or you don't want to, you want to go to school and get a job, you know, in an office, or, you know, he would tell me that type of shit like almost every day, and hit the books, son, and all this shit. And like I said, but he did, you know, the whole be a doctor and lawyer, but you're a trucker. Like, do you even know what a lawyer does all day? Do you even know what a doctor does all day? Do you even know if that like aligns with me at all? No, like no, none of those boxes got checked. But yet he felt in the moment when he was telling me that shit that it was like the good parent thing to say, and that just the type of shit that you're supposed to say to your kid. And I think so many of us probably were raised like that, and so many of us may be raising our kids like that. You know, I know I'm one of the last few from my generation without no kids yet, but so I know we're all raising kids, and let's just make sure, you know, that we're not kind of furthering that, because you never know what your kid's gonna grow up to be good at, or you know what field will suit them. If we just tell every damn kid to be a doctor or a lawyer, and if you're not a doctor or a lawyer, then you're a dumb failure, then I mean that there's just obviously so many problems with that I don't even need to like elaborate. They're very obvious, and it's just doesn't really benefit anybody. So definitely gained, you know, a new respect for the blue collar working class man. And it's also something else cool about like a lot of blue collar workers, like people that I work with. It's like, you know, something I've never liked is like when people make their job their identity, and it's like, oh, hi, I'm Dominic, I'm a salesman. It's like, are you a salesman, or do you just like, that's your job? Like, that is that you as a person? Like, you strip everything away and all that's there is a salesman? Or like I said, even if you're a lawyer or doctor, people like to do that with things that are held in high societal prestige. Like, oh, I'm Dominic the lawyer. I'm Dr. Dominic. And the doctor one's, I guess, a little different. Not really. I think they do it for the same reason. But like, it's like we're not that. No human is their job. I don't care if you have a good job or a bad job. You're not Bill the janitor, and you're not, you know, Ron the doctor. You're a human with an essence and an energy that is much more than just where you spend 40 hours a week, or it should be. And I've noticed that like a lot of people, you know, that they don't like they're them, and their job is their job, and while they're at their job, they do their job. But that's when they go home, like that, they don't bring, like, that's not their identity that they bring them home with them. They don't introduce themselves as that identity, and I think that's healthy. I think if your identity is your job, like, then you're just like super detached from oneself, and I mean that sounds miserable. Like, that can't be a fun existence, you know? Because then, I mean, or you're you behind closed doors, and you have all these fucking dirty little secrets that, you know, you can't, like, that no thank you. But you know, and usually with most things I'd say, like, if it works for you, then whatever. But honestly, if that's working for you, you may want to re-examine how well that is working for you. But hey, you know, only you know that. But yeah, you know, so going back to normal, it sure feels like it. It sure feels like it until you like turn on the news. Like I'll go throughout my whole day feeling normal as fuck, but then I turn on the news and the world's ended, man. They want us to be so scared, and they do, and then that's not even really up for debate. That's not conspiratorial. Like fear sells, proven with numbers and metrics and data. The news is they are a business. They're a for-profit company. They're not doing it out of the goodness of their hearts or to keep us informed. They're there to really sell ads. They're really ad salesmen, and that's how they make their money. And they're ad salesmen and entertainment. Ad salesman first, entertainment second. Nowhere in their job description is truth teller, or, you know, I guess no one, they're there to sell ads and to entertain and to like keep you from changing the channel. No different. The news is the same as Nickelodeon. Like their business model, a lot of them are even owned by the same like parent company. So like I just at this point have like zero stock in the news. The only news I really watch is like Crystal and Saga on YouTube, and like they're independent and they're not, nobody's really got them by the balls. At least I hope not. It seems not. But even that, there's only so much I can take because they're doing the same thing. I mean, I at least they're more transparent about it and they're not being controlled. But I mean, they still, like to have clickbait and try to get you to stay watching and to watch more videos and stuff. And maybe I'd be a better content creator if I took that same approach. But I'm just all about keeping it real, engaging with my audience, and just trying to I feel like I try to talk about the things that we all experience, but, maybe don't talk about, or I know not everybody can always put their thoughts into words, and those people, some people may think that those people don't have great thoughts or have great ideas, but some people struggle to, convert that conversion from like brain to mouth, and so I feel like other people out there are going through similar things or feeling a similar way, and I know, when I'm listening to a podcast and I relate to something they say, I mean, I know I'm a big fan of that. That's what made me fall in love with this genre and this, I guess you can call it an art form, media form. And yeah, it's, and this whole Corona, like, it kind of seems like a blackout memory. Like you go out with some friends, you get too drunk, and like you remember like bits and pieces from the night, but you're trying to like put it all together. Like, how did we end up here? And man, what happened to my hat? But you see like a picture of you with your hat earlier in the night, and it's like all kind of comes together. That's how I feel looking back on like 2020. And like damn, when the pandemic started, I was living like 2 places ago. Like I was living at a different apartment even before my aunt's house, and and just it's crazy. Like it seems like damn, that really happened, or just like the start of the pandemic when everything was locked down, and like me and my wife would just like essentially go hike in the Santa Cruz Mountains like essentially every day, or the East San Jose foothills. And we pretty much all we did was hike because there was nothing else to do. Hike and get drunk. Like that seems like so. Like damn, that really happened. Or even now, I've been back to work for 2 weeks, and I was just like, I really went 16 months without working. That really was 16 months, and I don't know. Maybe that has to do with just so much of that pandemic time was just kind of like week to week and month to month, and I don't think anybody was really looking too far into the future, and we were all just kind of going through it, and there was some fear and some panic, and and then I'm as I get older, time goes by faster, but I just look back on the whole pandemic, which isn't over yet, or it is over yet, who knows. But I look back on it, and it's like, it just almost doesn't seem real. Like, it doesn't seem real. But obviously it was. Like, I mean, I lost it. That's another thing too, for anybody thinking that like I feel callous or I don't care or whatever your interpretation may be of my views on the pandemic. I mean, I lost an aunt to COVID, like it's a tragedy, a lot of people died, but there's a lot of other tragedies that came from just like, dismantling our society as well. And, I just encourage everybody just to exercise more of your free will. Like, grab that steering wheel of your life and make a decision. Like, if you don't like where you're at, if you don't like your job, if you don't like how you look, like do something, make a change, enact some free will on your life. Like, don't just be a stick in the, a leaf in the wind, because you ain't gonna like where it blows you. Gonna blow you into the gutter. You gotta, live the life you want to live. Just one decision at a time. Take some leaps of faith. But also, that's another thing. When I say take a leap of faith, that doesn't mean like try to move to another state with $500 in your pocket, and then when it doesn't work, be like, damn, I took a leap of faith, like Dom said. Like, no, taking a leap of faith starts with saving up a substantial amount, finding a job in the place that you're going to, blah, 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 do it the right way, a responsible way, set yourself up for success. But at the same time, sometimes you gotta shit or get off the pot, sometimes, none of us are getting any younger, the more you entrench into a place and the more things that you get holding you to a place, the harder it is gonna be to leave, And also, I don't know, people say dumb stuff about moving, like, oh, my wife has a job here, or my dog, or this or that. Like, it's like, there's other places that allow dogs, and there's other places that have the same job, essentially, unless you happen to be a small business owner. And even then, you can probably go somewhere else and make more money with that small business, most likely, depending on where you're at or where you're going. And yeah, a lot of places aren't that different. Like, as somebody who's lived in a bunch of different type of places, for the most part, man, it's like the same video game with a different map. It's no different than changing maps on Call of Duty. You still, the same buttons control the same movements. It just is a different setting, something different to look at. For the most part, there are other things, but for the most part, it's something different to look at. And yeah, just enact some free will on your life. Let's all get back to normal. Let's all stop, clinging to fear and letting fear control us. And let's all live our lives in a way, that we want to, and let's stop acting like normal is always a bad thing. I'm really enjoying getting back to, more normal things on multiple fronts. And yeah, I think that's all I have for you. Episode 51 of Dreadful Talk. Let me know who you want to see on the podcast. Leave a comment if you enjoyed or if anything in this podcast helped you. Recommend the podcast to a friend. Like and subscribe on YouTube. That helps me so much. Dreadful Talk Podcast on YouTube. Have a beautiful day, everybody.